Row 42. Seat E. Middle seat. Take it or leave the plane. That was the sentence that landed on me like a slap, quiet but sharp, the kind that makes your ears ring even though no one raised their voice. I remember standing in the aisle, one hand on my backpack strap, the other holding my phone, while a woman I'd never met leaned back comfortably in the seat I had paid for, swirling her champagne like she owned the aircraft. And in that moment, everyone around us chose silence. Yeah, that was how it started. I didn't look impressive that day. Oversized hoodie-worn sneakers, hair pulled into a messy knot because I'd been awake for nearly 2 days straight. To anyone glancing my way, I probably looked like a grad student who wandered into the wrong section by mistake. What they didn't see was the weight I was carrying, not in my bag but in my name, my responsibilities, the company I ran, the contracts riding on that flight. But I've learned something in life. People don't see what they don't expect to see. Let me back up. The airport in Seattle was its usual mess of rolling suitcases, burnt coffee, and people rushing like they were all late for something important. I moved through it calmly, almost on autopilot. Airports had become routine for me over the years, just another hallway between meetings. I was flying overnight to New York for a board vote that could decide the future of hundreds of employees. I was exhausted, mentally fried, and the only thing keeping me going was the thought of a quiet first-class seat where I could shut my eyes for a few hours and breathe. Boarding went fine until I stepped onto the plane. At the door, the flight attendant glanced at my boarding pass, then at me, then back at the screen. Her smile tightened just slightly. "Economy is straight back," she said, already pointing past me. I paused and said calmly, "I'm actually in first class." She raised an eyebrow, the kind that asks a question without saying it. I showed her my phone. My name. Seat 2A. Priority boarding. She looked at it a second longer than necessary, then stepped aside without an apology. I didn't care. I was too tired to care. The front cabin was quiet, dim, smelled like leather and citrus wipes. I took maybe 3 steps before I stopped. Someone was already in my seat. She looked like she belonged there, at least by the world's lazy standards. Perfect hair, tailored blazer jewelry that caught the light every time she moved. Her shoes were off feet, tucked up, a glass of champagne already in hand. I stood there for a moment, making sure I wasn't losing my mind, then softly said, "Excuse me, I think you're in my seat." She didn't even turn around. Just waved her hand like I was a fly and said I asked for a refill. I took a breath. I'm not crew, and that's my seat. She finally looked at me, then slow and deliberate eyes scanning me head to toe. Her lips curled into a smile that wasn't friendly. "No, it's not," she said. "I always sit here. You must be mistaken." I showed her my boarding pass again. She laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Sweetheart, go find your seat in the back. You're blocking the aisle." That's when she called the flight attendant over loud enough for everyone in the cabin to hear, saying I was bothering her. The attendant checked the manifest. I saw my name on her tablet, saw the flicker of realization. And then I saw the calculation. She looked at the woman in my seat, then back at me, and her tone changed. "There seems to be a system issue," she said. The seat was double booked. She boarded first. I stared at her. "So, I lose my seat. We need to depart on time," she replied, voice firm now. "Please move to row 42, seat E. It's the only one left. Middle seat, last row. Take it or leave the plane." The cabin went quiet. People pretended to read magazines, stare out windows, adjust pillows. No one said a word. And in that silence, I realized something important. I could make a scene get dragged off, become a headline. Or I could play the long game. I picked up my bag and walked. The walk to the back felt longer than it was. The air got warmer, the seats tighter, the noise louder. I squeezed into the middle seat between a guy eating something that smelled aggressively like tuna and a teenager blasting music through cheap headphones. I buckled in, set my bag down, and when they announced to switch phones to airplane mode, I didn't. Not yet. I pulled out my phone and opened a contact saved simply as Ops. "Is the Orion shipment loaded on this flight?" I typed. The reply came fast. "Yes, fully loaded, high priority." I typed back 3 words. "Offload it now." There was a pause, then questions, warnings, Delays. I typed one last message. Authorization revoked. That cargo does not fly. Then I switched my phone to airplane mode and leaned back. Up front, engine started. Then stopped. Minutes passed, then more minutes. The air grew stuffy. Voices rose. In first class, the woman who stole my seat complained loudly, demanding updates, demanding drinks, completely unaware that the reason the plane wasn't moving was sitting quietly in row 42. Eventually, the captain came walking down the aisle. He stopped next to me and said my name softly like he wasn't sure it was really me. I looked up. He explained the cargo issue, the costs, the consequences. He asked me, almost begged me to lift the order. I listened, then told him exactly what had happened. How I was dismissed. How my seat was taken. How I was told I didn't look like I belonged. He offered to fix it quietly to move me back up front without a scene. I shook my head. No, I said. If respect only shows up when money is visible, then we have a bigger problem. That's when she appeared storming down the aisle, heels clacking, face flushed, demanding to know why the captain was talking to someone like me. Phones came out. People started recording. The moment shifted. The captain straightened and introduced me. My full name, my title, my company, the one whose cargo was grounding the plane. Her face went pale. I gave her a choice. She could take my seat, row 42 middle. Or the plane stayed right where it was and everyone would know exactly why. She argued, scoffed, tried to laugh it off. But the room had turned on her. Finally, she whispered an apology and sat down. The plane moved. But that wasn't the end. She unraveled in the back, drinking too much, yelling at crew, throwing a drink at an air marshal. By the time we landed, police were waiting. Her husband showed up, tried to distance himself, failed. Investigations followed. Headlines followed. Consequences followed. I walked off that plane quietly, headphones on, heart steady. Here's what I want you to think about. This wasn't about a seat. It was about how easy it is to judge, to assume, to decide someone's worth based on how they look. I didn't win because I was loud. I won because I knew my value even when no one else did. So let me ask you this. If you were there, would you have spoken up? If you were in my place, would you have done the same? Or would you have taken the middle seat and stayed quiet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear where you stand.